Hi everyone, I'm Dasha and this is Manakova channel. In this video, we'll take a closer look at, wait for it, Christina Aguilera's Masterclass, but the old one you might know, but a freshly baked in 2023 Masterclass. What the toxic hater thinks of herself, judging Aguilera herself. Well, that's my job, kind of. So you either like it or skip it. But really, no joking, I'm a big fan of Christina. I bought one of her albums when I was 6 and owed a big part of my vocal and musical career in general to her. So, if I criticize her, that doesn't mean I hate her. Let's make it our rule. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button in advance. After all, only on this channel you can find the most recent and interesting news about vocal. And now let's get started. First of all, let's clear these two moments. The first one, a good singer may be a bad teacher, and we have many examples. Not every singer is a great teacher, and not every teacher is a great singer. The second one, that's an important detail. Christina Aguilera is her self-taught singer. I did some research lately and I heard how Christina sang in her childhood, and she sang in exactly same way as today. In her masterclasses, Christina mentioned that she talked to a vocal coach only at her age of 16 before her first touring. He gave her some advices and vocal warm-ups, pretty basic ones, must say, so she can, well, warm up her voice properly herself. So now we know that Christina always did all her singing based on what she feels. Her masterclass was made with help of the platform Masterclass, where you can find plenty of other courses with other celebrities. And of course, this plays into the hand of promotion of these masterclasses because all the fans surely will go to this platform and consume the content with their favorite celebrity. Also, all the courses are professionally recorded. I wish every masterclass in this world would be like that. That's a big advantage of these courses. In the beginning of her masterclass, Christina mentions that she created these vocal exercises herself and that they suit to everyone from beginners to experienced singers. We'll check the exercises later. The course contains a bunch of short videos from 4 to 8 minutes. On one hand, that's plenty convenient, but on other hand, not really practical. I'd wanted more details. But well, these masterclasses are just a marketing move, a way for the fans to be closer to their idols, especially to Christina Aguilera, one of the strongest vocalists in the world. Let's talk a little about her first masterclass. It was dedicated to different cases with students to work out their singing style.
But I'm very black and white. I'm either like, hey, or I'm like, hey.
It's about Christina's vocal everyday life, how she found her own technique, how she feels her voice, and what can help with that. Generally speaking, she shares her experience without trying to force this knowledge to anybody. What can I say? That's awesome. You can really find a lot of useful stuff in that masterclass. Some people say, back in my days, all the legendary singers could sing without all those cartilage, closures, and other anatomy of yours. Well, Christina speaks about that too. So let's discuss this moment. When you grow up in such musical environment and can listen to and observe all of these musical vibes from early age, you start unconsciously repeating and memorizing the vocal techniques and tricks that you can hear and especially like. So that's Aguilera's case and of many singers actually. Christina told how inspired she was by Etta James' vocal, that's such raw, not always perfect, but real singing captures her the most.
Deep down in my soul, sit gone and cry.
So that's what she encourages, to search in yourself, to broaden your horizons and not to destroy yourself in vain attempts to reach the perfection. Because in this chase of ideal sound, she was recording the song Beautiful, which was written by Linda Perry. In the end, she decided not to complicate the performance of the song, and the very first version was like recorded from the first take, was especially the final one. Funny enough, that song that became a hit, Aguilera didn't like it. Yep, that happens. But let's finally look closer to the new masterclass in which Christina shows and explains her techniques, and that's too interesting for us to miss. The introduction is pretty useless unless you want to learn a bit about Christina's biography, how important is it to create a comfortable working space, that she lights up candles for this, and so on and so forth for 5 minutes. Actually, that's kind of important too. A lot of people can't practice because they are afraid of their neighbors, parents, relatives, etc. So finding a proper place for practicing is crucial. Then we need to warm up before we start singing. Respecting your instrument and taking care of it is a good habit for all musicians. You should treat well every muscle and every chord that help you sing. But still, every person is unique, so there are different ways to do the warm-up. Thank you so much, Christina, for saying that out loud. Christina Aguilera starts warming up with breathing. I imagine you like, alrighty then, I'll go and do the breathing. After all, that's what Christina Aguilera recommends. You little Dasha hate breathing exercises, but now you see that even Christina starts with them. But as Christina says, the voice responds to your emotional state. For example, she admits that she has a lot of muscle tension in her neck, and a proper breathing exercise helps her relax and prepare herself for working. And in my honest opinion, this is a nice thing to do instead that diaphragm stuff. Still, she has a little information about the diaphragm in some of the checklists, but you won't find anything we're used to here, like you should breathe with your belly and something like that. What exercises we have in the course? The breath of fire.
The breath of fire.
That's 50-70 repeating breathe with your nose and with pauses, not Christina's favorite exercise. A rather abrupt exercise that comes from yoga helps reduce the stress in body. And let me draw your attention to your fact that she doesn't breathe with her belly. An intense chest breathing. Just look at that. That reminds me a lot of yoga, and Christina even holds her hands in yoga pose. The second exercise is to breathe with your body. Another one from yoga and to train your imagination. Christina admits she likes such creative thinking. You should imagine that you breathe through that very place where you feel a muscle tension. All in all, I think these exercises ain't that bad. After all, a lot of us really need to relax, especially before an important concert. But she doesn't say that breathing is 80% of your success. I want to point it out. This lesson is only 8 minutes long. If you wonder how to fight the stress, you can try these breathing exercises. They really help to relax, enrich your brain with oxygen, etc. After this, we continue warming up with our little cute vocal folds. And in this part, some strange things start to appear. Let me describe it to you in details. She explains that there are head voice and chest voice. The head voice is usually used to hit high notes, and you know that you sing in your head voice when you feel the vibration in your head, nasal cavity, and the soft palate, the flashy area at the back of the palate. Christina says in her lesson to imagine yawning, because during this action you use the soft palate too by lifting it up. And this movement is the main difference between the head and the chest voices. Your head voice might sound softer, and it's important to stay relaxed when you're singing it. The chest voice is used usually when we talk, and your vocal folds vibrate across the entire length while singing in the chest voice. It creates a lower, warmer, more robust sound than your head voice.
Singer's secret.
Thank you. Take a moment and pay attention to what muscle you use when you sing. If you feel a slight vibration in your upper chest, congrats, you sing in your chest voice. And now let's describe this material. The first thing that sound kinda fishy. Is that the main difference between these two voices lifting the soft palate? That's not quite right, because you can do it singing in both. And the head voice and the chest voice, your head voice can work with different types of closure of the vocal cords, and yarning isn't always the right move to fully understand the mechanics of this voice. Secondly, the head voice can be robust too. And here the nuance that Christina thinks that falsetto sounds are the head voice. And they really are, of course, tenderer and softer. Let me demonstrate. Your head voice might be like this. Oh, 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 yo! Or this. Or oh! You can decide for yourself how you consider these sounds. And yes, they're as different as they sound. Even more, you can feel them as chest sounds. Yay! But I feel them in my head. It's a head voice. I feel that in my head, sometimes in the chest when I go lower. It's still heady. It's chesty, yay! And last but not least, the chest voice not always formed with all its power in the chest. For example, you can feel the sound in your head. What type of vocal is this one? You might consider it's the chest voice, but for me, it's the head voice. And yep, I base my definition on my personal feelings and vibrations, etc., which can differ from person to person. But Christina did say that this sound is formed due to the fuller vibration of the vocal cords, and that's true. The main difference here would be whether you sing in thick or thin folds. Next, you should use your belly. The power of your voice forms in your belly. That sound kind of fishy to me too. Probably she means the core muscles because she told that already in her first masterclass. Of course, it's impossible to belt like Christina unless you use some proper muscles, you know? Another interesting moment in that Christina doesn't say anything about other types of singing. Like, she doesn't sing in mixed voice or something like this. So obviously she doesn't explain how that works. Usually she sings in thick folds and her range is pretty wide. So I know Christina sings in falsetto and head voice, but I've never heard her singing in mix. And a lot of singers try to broaden their range and sing like Christina Aguilera. They start imitating her voice without understanding how to do that properly. So the sounds creaky, screamingly in the same time. Christina often sings with distortion too, but this her habit to compensate her sound. Hey! 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 She found that right singing manner, that special sound, and adapted to it, singing comfortably with it. To be perfectly honest, I tried imitating Christina Aguilera too, and not every attempt had a happy ending. So please be careful with all this imitation thing. Christina thinks that the worst vowel to sing is an E because it's kind of difficult for your larynx to produce the sound. Not really difficult, but it's a narrow sound, and if you try to sing using thin vocal cords closure, it will be like that. E, E, So Christina sings it in her thick folds or chest voice and leads to the sound a little higher and makes it wider by changing her tongue position, relaxing her face, etc. Instead of E. And this technique really can help with an E, but there are other ways to nail it too. Some singers make it narrower on purpose and managing it to do that perfectly with a beautiful sound. He have no time. He have no time. Everything is always depends on the singing style and manner and genre and so on. There are always place for experimentation in vocal. As an exercise, we have the beloved Ande Felice one. Ande Felice, Ande Felice. You have to make wider your E, open your chest and larynx. Well, she shows that you should do more like but really, it all depends. Basically, she shows everything I described to you earlier once more in thick folds that really helps with this tricky vowel. What I really liked in this course is that there are various checklists and other useful materials to read and save, like a simplified structure of the vocal apparatus. I adore little additions like this. For example, about the soft palate, they add that before starting Christina's warm-ups, you should learn how to resonate more with your tone of voice and control the throat muscles well. Thanks to soft palate, you can make more open and deep sounds. To find the soft palate, which is the fleshy area at the back of your upper part of the mouth, look in the mirror and point the flashlight to the back of your mouth, say hang to feel and see how the soft palate and your tongue meet and separate. For better understanding of the soft palate impact on your voice, try to hold your nose and say hang again. You may notice how the sound ends abruptly. Then make the A sound still holding your nose. This should not affect the sound you make if your palate is raised. Hang After this, try to lift your soft palate up by yawning or sighing, like when you do in shock. Practicing holding it upwards and keeping your tongue down while you count to 4. This open space in your mouth is what you need and achieve when you're singing. Be careful not to obstain your throat. You can use a singer's smile technique to check if your soft palate is lifted properly. While you smile, you need to tense the cheek muscles without tensing the neck ones. It helps to lift both your palate and cheeks in the way that straighten your voice resonance. After all that Christina tells about the exercises she created herself. The first one, Rob Lewis is playing the piano. Christina always starts her falsetto sounds, which means she starts her warming up with thin folds and gradual moves to thick folds. And I think that's a good choice. It sounds like, oh, like a yawn. A neat warming up exercise for your head voice, but not every beginner singer reach those notes, and she said exercises are for all levels. She mentions also that during these exercises there no need to sing it beautifully, it's just to warm everything up properly. You need to relax your face as much as you can. Next, the E sound. In this exercise, Christina sings a lot of notes and advises to sing longer, weak ones to clear the sound. Well, to be honest, it's really not the simplest one. And the next one is belt singing. Yep. Right away. The first exercise in this part is oh, hey, yeah. Oh, hey, yeah. Christina shows this one in a more reserved sound, but admits that sometimes she can do the exercise in full power. Oh, hey, yeah. Oh, hey, yeah. And her full powered belt singing is the one with ring and with the slightly compressed tongue root. So yeah, you should remember that there are many types of belting and you don't need to sing exactly like Christina Aguilera. Yeah. It's different. They're two different sounds. At the same time, Christina says it's okay to copy and imitate someone while you're learning because it helps to find your own unique sound. The second exercise is with the one and only sound E. She sings free, up and down a triad. Free, free. Once more, she says how important is to not to make it too narrow and to open your vocal cords. But we all know, yes, we know, do we know that they're fully opened only when you breathe in? And you may notice the yawning position here too, but that's not the yawn really. You just need to monitor the compression of the false vocal cords. It's really important. The third one. run.
It's either but run.
Where we warm up the A sound, which is Christina's favorite. She explained that in this exercise you tense your chords and again, in yarning movement, hit a high note. For her it's always like a game because in her life she takes much higher notes than during her warm-ups or recordings. And of course, she sings with distortion on high notes. That's totally unintentional. The next exercise is dark chords. It's pretty much the same but with minor chords. She sings in it softly and airy for the E sound and adds some dynamics and sings with crescendo. The exercise is for falsetto sound and help to develop the airy, thick fold singing. And now I see it's the same, but with some words to sing. You can sing like Christina does or try to make it a little narrower.
And now I see.
Next one, singing Believe with crying and breaking. An exercise for thick folds using singing break.
Believe.
And this exercise is great, but not really helps you understand the right technique. Because, well, if you haven't found your thick fold sound or can do the breaks, then the exercise isn't going to work. So it's more suitable for singers who are already pretty familiar with their voices and know how and what to do with them. The last exercise is a simple singing hey, 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 like she showed in her first masterclass. She uses it to quickly warm up in her voice.
Make sure my power, my chest, my breath projects a hey!
And generally speaking, that's a standard exercise for belting. A disadvantage that I notice is that she uses her belly for stronger sounds. And of course, this triggers her false vocal cords, so her high notes are split.
Hey! Hey! Hey!
And she doesn't even sing extra high notes in this masterclass. To tell the truth, I wouldn't recommend to copy her manner because she already found and adapted for herself this distortion sound. But if you haven't found your belting voice yet and start compressing core and throat muscles, it might lead to distress and soreness. So, before everything else, it's better to find your bass sound and start working with it. And very last exercise she shows is humming, where you need to open your throat as if you had a bubble in it, and like Sometimes she just opens and closes her throat without making a sound. And these are good basic exercises. After this, Christina gives some advice for warming up. She uses the warm-ups in records. They're the second type of warming up, and that's when you speak throughout the day. After this, you don't need to do a lot of exercises. Next, if you sing in the morning, it's a good habit to do a short warm-up too, like do humming, ooh, hey, but do it carefully. Before recording, she takes a pause between the warm-up and the actual work, so you can record a fresh and strong vocal. Keep the positive mental attitude. Christina uses her daughter's name for singing the warm-up simply because it makes her happier. Know your limits. You can discover your range by singing to the piano. Next, connecting to the song. Feel it, live it. Don't be afraid to try different styles. It helps to find out your own sound and what suits you best. When you live in your song, you can use your emotions. For that, you need to remember sometimes from your past or present. Find some triggers in the lyrics. After this, Christina tells how to make a sound your own. She uses the song At Last as an example. Some advice to achieve this. Decide on timing in the song, like whether you start singing on the beat or before it or after it. Use the riffs. You can change some notes to others from the same tone in the chord. Next, add more dynamic to your liking and sing quieter or louder based on the lyrics. Add vibrato to long notes. Be open to experimentations and of course more and more practice. And I totally agree with all this. I give almost the same advice to my students because this really is important to pay attention to the lyrics, feel the music, and unite it all in the song. What else you can add to our learning process? Find an inspiration in other singers' performances and listen to them more and soak up their manners and tricks. Christina Aguilera is deeply inspired by Whitney Houston and Celine Dion, and she isn't afraid to copy some of their sounds because she sings it in her way and use it differently in her songs. For a better visualization and understanding of some techniques, Christina searches an inspiration in other music and in films. She doesn't play any instrument, but she listens to a lot of different references and she can use it in her music. And I tell you a secret, a lot of songwriters can't play instruments but still create awesome songs, like Sia, for example, or Benny Blanco. And of course, Christina admits that it's important to never stop learning and try something new. Impossible to disagree with that, right? After this, their short video with Jean Rodriguez, Puerto Rican singer. In this episode, they tell how he helped Christina with her Spanish pronunciation. So it's time to sum up all the thoughts about this masterclass. I'd rate it 6 out of 10. For me, the first course is more interesting and substantive, even if the video quality is a little worse than in this masterclass. In the first one, Christina told more about herself and her personal life hacks. She showed her practicing with other students. She really told some curious stuff. When this masterclass seems to me like a written specially for her, that it was someone else who created everything and she just voiced it, sometimes not even in her own words. Advantages: beautiful materials that you can save and use, stylish picture, and of course beautiful Christina, and also some valid and practical advice. Disadvantages: pretty sketchy vocal theory and exercise. In total, they're only an hour and a half of information. But well, I kinda told already everything earlier. In the end, if you like Christina, then it's pleasant environment to watch and admire her enormous experience. I really enjoyed this masterclass, even though there are not a lot of practical information and the warm-ups are more just to sing without some profound working. But still, if you watch the first and the second Christina's masterclasses, tell your thoughts in the comments. Let's exchange our experience. Please leave a like, that really helps me, and also I see that you like my content. Thank you all. Bye bye, see you in the next videos.